Hello, and welcome to another video. Today, I'll be showing you the deck that I played and everything that I opened in my Marvel Superheroes pre-release event. If you went out and played in a pre-release yourself, I would love to hear how it went for you. Tell me about the deck that you built and any particular cards that you really enjoyed. Unfortunately, with this deck, I only went 1 and 2. I really liked the deck that I built, but as we look at it, we can talk about some of the issues that it had. And, for my 1 and 2 record, I got 2 prize packs. So, of course, we'll open these up together at the end. I'm excited for that. But yeah, I will take a moment here to unsleeve my deck and lay it out so we can look at it together. And while I do that, go ahead and leave a comment about your pre-release or any cards from this set that you're excited to build around in Commander or anything like that. I would love to know. Alright, so here is the deck that I played. Obviously it is Naya. For me, I would say Jennifer Walters was definitely the star of the show. She's a 2-mana 2/3, which is already above rate. She gives you a little bit of protection by preventing opponents from casting spells during your turn. And then for 6 mana, she is a 6/6 reach trample. Opponents still can't cast spells during your turn. And then, whenever a creature you control is dealt damage, you may have her deal that much damage to any target once per turn. So, really strong creature, and I thoroughly enjoyed playing this. Definitely one of the cards that drew me toward green-white at least. And you'll see as we go through the rest of the cards, but the major decision point with this deck was whether to go Bant or Naya. And some of the things that really drew me into red were things like Wolverine and Thor. These were both cards that I was really excited to play. I wish I had a way to give Wolverine double strike or something like that to really take advantage of him, but, coming in and fighting something was really good on its own. And Thor, of course, as a large flying vigilant creature, is tough to deal with. And those 2 instances of prowess stack up really nicely. And then, aside from that, there was some synergy that I was trying to build around here. I was mostly trying to focus on Hawkeye's ability. If a source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, instead it deals that much plus Hawkeye's power. So of course really good with She-Hulk's ability. Wolverine again, because he fights when he comes into play. Abomination can fight when he powers up. Johnny Storm can ping whenever you draw a card. So that can add up pretty quickly. We've got Hawkeye's bow, of course. These were clearly made to work together. But this pings whenever the equipped creature taps. So that's really good. And then we had a couple of burn spells here. So lots of ways to take advantage of Hawkeye's abilities, which is really what locked me into wanting to go Naya with this deck, as opposed to the Bant deck that I had been considering. But yeah, let me clean this up a bit and we can go through this a bit more granularly. I only played 1 non-basic land, and honestly, this was quite unnecessary. The only reason I was running this was the very small chance that I would be able to activate Nick Fury. I was also running Ant-Man's Army, which creates a treasure, and Dependable Quinjet, which can tap for any color. So if I did have Nick Fury and any 2 of these plus each of my basic lands, then I could in theory activate him. that wasn't anything that I was actually striving for, but I did want to make the possibility available just because that is such a strong ability. Otherwise, I was fine with Nick Fury just being a 1-mana 2/1. And I actually was in a situation where I was going to be able to activate him, but the only thing I needed to do to win that game was attack my opponent with what I already had on board, so did not activate him, but I was glad to know that I could. For removal, this is basically all that I had. So I think this was kind of a weakness of the deck. I really struggled dealing with high toughness creatures, especially like that 2/5 lifelink that makes 1/4 walls. The 1/4 creature that locks something down until it leaves the battlefield. Stuff like that was kind of just out of reach for me, unless I could do something with these. Or unless I had one of these with Hawkeye. I mean, Abomination can fight, but at 7 mana, that is very slow. Photon Blast Barrage I thought was really good and scalable, but again, to deal with some of those larger creatures, you have to wait quite a bit to have enough mana for it. And then these two on their own only deal 3, which is, good most of the time, but struggles with anything above 4 toughness. So that's that. These two were here for land cycling. This one I never even cast as a spell, but I think it would be good if you do. The dinosaur I did cast like once or twice, but really didn't feel bad about land cycling it early. Most of my stuff didn't really start happening until turn 3 or later, so making sure that I had all 3 of my colors online was important to me in the early turns. And these were really helpful with that. Here's some 3 and 4 mana creatures that we haven't talked about yet. They were fine, I think. These two are obviously for a counter deck that I wasn't really in, but I think they were fine. Probably quite a bit better if you build around them properly, especially Mr. Hyde. This guy I don't think I ever even saw, but he's a 4 mana 4/4 that leaves behind a little bit of power and toughness for you. A fine 3 mana 3/3 that sometimes taps something down. Really good with things like removal where you can clear 2 creatures out of the way. Okoye is really good. It's a 3-for-1 that puts 5 power on the board, so love that. And then our last few cards. I really enjoyed Khazar, a 2-for-1 that makes a token with landfall that gets a counter every time you play a land, and lets you play land from the top of your library. Wakandan Royal Guard will reward you for playing other heroes. I enjoyed that card. Like putting 2 counters on She-Hulk makes her an 8/8 reach trample creature, so that's really good. And then Earth's Mightiest Heroes was my promo card. I think this is a really strong card, but I struggled with it a bit. It was a game-winning card against me, and then the one time that I was able to cast it myself, my opponent just kept taking out all of my creatures, and I wasn't able to get him to stick around. So eventually I just had to run this for 1 creature and hope to get something good, but that is the deck that I played. Let's now take a look at some of the cards that I didn't play. Alright, starting off with the rares. I thought both of these looked really strong. These were what was pulling me into considering a Bant deck instead of Naya. But like we were looking at, things like that Hawkeye synergy, Wolverine and Thor, even Lightning Strike and the Photon Blast thing, that was drawing me further into red. But I could definitely see a possibility of going into blue instead. And I can pull out the other rares so we can look at them all together. Going into it, I knew I wanted to play these 2, but maybe instead of what I did run, we could have done this. Nick Fury, I think, is less likely to activate though, because we need to make both red and black, and don't have any land to bridge into it. But yeah, I think this was a possibility. Here are the multicolored cards and the dual lands that I didn't run. I thought Captain America looked great. Definitely seems built to work well with teamwork. But between this and Thor, I just wanted to play Thor instead. And I do like Killmonger, but not for any of the decks that I was considering. Here are the white cards that I didn't play. I wasn't really into the theme of attacking alone, so most of these didn't really make sense for me. There was a lot of red that I didn't play. I think this was the deepest color in my pool, but I was trying to keep it kind of light in my deck. White and green were kind of the primary colors there. I mean, maybe bringing in some of these 2-mana creatures could have helped bring the curve down a bit, but wasn't really something I was too concerned about. I was running nearly all of my green. No real regrets though about not running any of this. I probably would have sprang for Hellcat if it wasn't a double green spell. And then for blue, I definitely thought there was some pretty good stuff in here. I thought Depower looked pretty good. Atuma, of course, is better with other merfolk, but can draw cards all on its own. So I do like that. Atlantis Attacks seems like a really good late game card to push you over the edge. But yeah, aside from the rares, I think I still feel fine about picking red over this. But I would love to hear what you think. Looking at the artifacts, I was going to run this one, but just kind of ran out of room, so I ended up cutting it. And then lastly, we've got our black. I didn't look at this too closely because I was already pretty sure that I wasn't going to be in black, and looks to be a pretty shallow color in this pool anyway. We did have the Winter Soldier and Killmonger, but wasn't feeling very drawn to this. And that is everything that I opened in my sealed pool. I thought the blue rares looked really good, but the red commons and uncommons looked better, so I would love to hear your opinion. And finally, before we close out, let's open up the prize packs. Aw, Pet Avengers. So cute. The rare is Ares, god of war. He attacks each combat if able, and whenever an attacking creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand. Seems pretty good. Hulk Smash. Let me know what your best pull from this set has been so far. There was a player at my pre-release that opened 2 Mind Stones, so that was pretty wild. Another Nick Fury. Okay. Might have some CDH implications maybe. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, and I would love to hear about your pre-release if you went to one. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already. I put out new Magic the Gathering ASMR videos every Monday and Friday. I truly appreciate all of your support, and I hope you have a wonderful day.